Hey kids, Mr Fly here, hope you're well. Now you join me and Mrs Flyer, who's being a bit shy, at Heathrow Terminal 2. Not a terminal that we come to very often, because this is the one that you go to when you go to exotic places. So we're off on our next tour. It's going to be a really good one, this. We're really excited about it. Stick around, stay tuned. We'll show you where we're going. Okay, so of course you know by the title of the video that we're in fact off to Thailand, somewhere very exotic to ride a motorcycle. Really excited about it. Never been to Thailand in my life, so it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, from here in Heathrow to Bangkok is 14 hours, and then we've got like a 2-hour internal flight. So long old day ahead of travel. I won't bore you with that, but I'll fill you in on the details of our trip once we get there, and I'll see you when we're in Thailand. Exciting, we're going on the big one. Hi. Okay, so wine forward 14 hours and got myself a coffee to keep me awake. Bangkok airport now, just about to get a connecting flight down to the south, to the Malay Peninsula, and a place called Krabi, which is where we're staying. Right, we'll do another one then. Hi. Do you expect a car?
Yeah, please.
Bit of deja vu going on here. Right, so we finally made it to Krabi, feeling a little bit jaded. It's about 36 hours since we got up, so we're feeling pretty tired, it has to be said. We're fighting to start up at least 9 o'clock tonight. It's about 4 o'clock now, something like that. Anyway, this is where we're staying, and this, what has to be said, is a bit of a tropical paradise. Check this out. I'll show you around properly tomorrow, but we're in this little villa here, and it's absolutely cracking. We've already had a dip in the pool. It's nice and cool in here. Carol's here looking a bit tired. You can see we haven't properly unpacked quite yet. We've got a little kitchen there and amazing bedroom area, and it's all very splendid. And there's a beautiful swimming pool, and also the bike that I'm going to be riding is here as well. But I'm absolutely whacked now, so I'm going to try and stay awake a bit longer, get a bit of shut-eye, and then tomorrow morning I'll show you the bike and I'll show you around here a bit more. Morning folks, it's the next day. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, feeling a little bit bright. I had a good night's sleep actually. Woke up about 1 AM, but been dozing the rest of the time. Jet lag is doing its thing. Anyway, thought what I'd do is just give you a little look around here where we're staying, a little, not estate, that's not the right word, it's sort of a group of, I think, 8 villas. They're absolutely cracking, as you can see. And the good news is, as I say, the bike has turned up. I'm going to be riding. So let me show you the bike, which is parked out here. Managed to blag this. Must say thanks very much to the guys from Triumph UK for sorting this out for me. Got myself a Triumph Tiger 800, which was delivered yesterday, just as we turned up, which is brilliant. Let me show you that. Oh, this is Paul, by the way. Hello, Paul. Morning.
Morning.
Paul's the owner and proprietor here and our host for this trip. So we're going to show us all sorts of good stuff planned. Even got a map. Look at this. So what's the plan for today? Well, actually, we're going to get some fuel. That's the plan for today, isn't it? And a bit of
First thing is fuel. Then an exploratory trip to get used to the bike.
That's the word.
On your own.
Right,
and then this afternoon, we're going out to this point here.
Perfect.
Where there's a beautiful restaurant, and we're going to look through the mangroves. And
absolutely amazing. Sounds great.
Through the mangroves.
Sounds good to me. What's not to like? Right, let's show the punters the bike. Here we go, folks. So here's the Tiger 800. It's this is the XCA, I think it is, which is the the XCA, which is the more off-roady version. So it's got slightly taller suspension than the standard bike, and as you can see, we've got it kitted out with panniers as well, because in a few days' time we're going to be hopefully, depending on the weather, going away and doing a few days actually away from the hotel as well. So that should be great. But so that's the bike for the setup. Thanks again to Triumph for lending me the bike, which has made obviously this whole thing possible. Alrighty, I'm going to go and have a bite of breakfast, get togged up, and then we'll go and get some fuel on the bike and have a little look around. Right, this is very exciting. Bleed on, sir. Right, so my first ever time riding in the Far East. How exciting is this? So we're just out doing a bit of a sort of an orientation ride, really, because I haven't ridden here before, and the road discipline is a little bit different to that I'm used to in the UK, shall we say. But the first thing is find some fuel, because this bike is literally running on fumes. It's quite a while since I rode the Tiger 800, I have to say, and it feels really light actually. Brilliant. As you can see, Paul up ahead is on the trusty GS. And another thing you might quickly notice, which surprised me, is we're riding on the left. I just sort of assumed that we'd be riding on the right, but no, it feels like being in Blighty. Riding on the left, how about that? Well, it's already an absolutely cracking day. It's about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it's already, well, must be 30 degrees at least. Even though it looks cloudy here, of course, it is a, well, I suppose it's a subtropical climate, you'd call it. And so it does get very hot, but of course there's an awful lot of power and energy in the atmosphere, so over the day the clouds build and build, and then it's not unheard of to have big deluges of rain in the afternoon. So Paul was saying what he tends to do is try and ride, if he can, earlier in the day when it's a little bit cooler, and then also, of course, you miss that rain deluge. As you can see, overtaking on the inside is quite normal here apparently. You need eyes up your backside. Because I'm not sure lane discipline is the thing. Which I need to be a little bit careful, because this bike's got absolutely brand new tyres on it. And Paul is obviously a fast rider. Or it might just be the difference between the GS and the Triumph, I don't know. But I was having to wind her up quite a bit there to keep up with him, believe it or not. Yeah, it didn't take long to get to the fuel station. Excellent. Right, let me get some motion lotion, and then we'll be all systems go. It's neutral. Oh. Right, full tank of fuel, and it cost about the equivalent of about £11 to fill up. So quite cheap, not super cheap, but not bad either. Right, and as usual, the old Triumph is still showing empty, and with the fuel light on, even though I've just filled it up. It's one of my pet hates of the Triumph for some reason, but there we go. I'm sure it'll catch up with us eventually. So how exciting is this? We're off. My first ever experience of riding in the Far East. What an absolute privilege. And what a treat. Now, as ever, the GoPro ain't going to show the scenery on this trip as I'm seeing it, but I'm hoping you're going to get some sort of idea of what it looks like around here, because up ahead those mountains are just something else. Now, when we were coming back from the airport yesterday, Paul picked us up from there. He was telling us that those types of mountains are pretty rare in the world. Actually, there's only 3 places in the world they appear. They're called karsts. I think it's K-A-R-S-T-S, and I think they're basically, they were sculpted out from when this lot was under the sea. They've got massively sheer sides, as you can see, and an awful lot of foliage and trees on the top, to the point at which it's not actually very easy for humans to get up them. And we were debating and wondering whether in fact there has been people at the top of all of them, because we suspect they possibly haven't. As you can see, there is very much a two-wheeled culture here in Thailand. Larger motorcycles aren't so common, because they tend to be very, very expensive. Paul was telling me GS here, new GS, whereas at home you might pay for a, you know, kitted out GS £18,000, which I think is expensive. He was saying due to import taxes and so on, they're twice that here, which of course puts them out of the reach of most normal people. Just taking it a little easy on these corners because I have got these brand new tyres. I don't quite trust them yet. Apparently the legal age to ride a bike is 15 here, but I've seen some kids that look pretty young riding bikes that I'm pretty sure aren't 15. So here's a case in point. This lad up here, look, on this little scooter, no gloves on, no helmet, no nothing, in his shorts. He looks, I would say, if he's over 8 years old, I'll be surprised. Incredible. So the purpose of this first ride out really is sort of a familiarisation trip. One, to get used to the bike, and to scrub these tyres in a little bit, and then also just to get used to riding around the roads here in the traffic here, which is not that busy, as you can see. But again, how lucky and fortunate am I to have Paul as my guide, a local. He's lived here for 15 years. You're allowed to turn left on reds here, by the way, which again is a great thing. It just keeps the traffic moving. And he's got this couple of hour route this morning in mind that just take us up off the main road up into the mountains. Hopefully there should be some spectacular sights to see. It's so completely different here to any other country that I've ever been to. It's just going to be a fascinating trip, and I hope some of that comes across in the videos that I'll make over the next few days. Of course, another little confusion of riding around here is, of course, the road signs can be difficult to understand. These ones have got English on as well as Thai. Look, so this is a fairly main road, obviously, which is fine. But once you get off the beaten track, you're into this sort of Thai Cyrillic, or whatever that's called, writing that basically the Western eye has got no chance of understanding. So again, am I glad I'm following Paul? This Tiger, it has to be said, is a completely different ride to the GS, which of course I'm super used to and have been riding a lot of late. It feels just so much lighter than the GS, which is a definite plus. But you don't half have to rev it compared to the GS. It feels like I'm absolutely thrashing it the whole time, just to keep up with Paul, and he's just purring along. But then of course he is on the 1200 and this is just an 800. It does make a difference. It has got that familiar triple whistle though, which I love. Sounds just like my street triple. You like their traffic lights here? Okay, so it looks like we're turning on. My word, look at that scooter just shot by with a lady side saddle, not holding on, and of course no kit on, but she was wearing a helmet, so which is more than most do. Helmet's not a legal requirement here. But why wouldn't you wear one? Paul just pointing out there a temple at the top of that hill ahead. I don't know if you can see that on the GoPro. It's still a little bit distant, but there's a very impressive Buddhist temple right at the top of that particular hill, just up there. Look, you can see that. You've got to be pretty serious about your meditation to make your way up to there, haven't you? So just for your orientation's sake, we're way down in the south of Thailand. I mentioned before a place called Krabi, or in the environs of. I'll stick a map up to show you. It's way down. Thailand's a sort of long, thin country, and right down the south is the bit that's on the Malayan Peninsula that joins or borders Malaysia to the south, and then to the north is Myanmar, or as I know it, Burma. And it is, as I say, quite a long country. We flew in from London to Bangkok, and then the flight from Bangkok to here was about another hour and 10, something like that. Something like 650 miles from Bangkok down here. Although there are some touristy areas in Krabi, we ain't going to be going to many of them. I'm quite pleased to say. Paul over the next few days is going to be showing us some of what he calls the real Thailand, which certainly appeals to me. Look at these views already. We've barely been on the bike for half an hour, and this is unlike anywhere I've ever ridden before. Now you may wonder, with some of the overtakes we do on, you know, solid lines and so on, and maybe the odd undertake as well, what the situation is here with laws. Well, I'm informed there are lots of laws and rules here, very, very many indeed. It's just that no one follows them. No one really knows what the speed limit is. There are speed limits, but there are no speed cameras. You certainly don't see speed police, and neither do you see signs on the side of the road saying what the speed limit is. So Paul was saying he just kind of rides at a speed that feels comfortable and safe, which I like the sound of. Well, this certainly feels like proper Thailand now, that's for sure. I mean, in the major cities and towns, of course, it's very developed and there's plenty of money. Certainly as we came through Bangkok airport, there was nothing third world about that, but when you just come off the beaten track and you see that people are living in shacks in some cases, it does bring it home to you that you're not in a first world country. Absolutely fascinating to see. So this is going to be a tour of all sorts of firsts. I mentioned it's my first time riding in the Far East. It's also the first time I've gone on a tour with this camera that I'm using. It's a GoPro, of course, but I've got the GoPro Hero 8 on here now, and it's mounted in a different position to where I've ever mounted it before. It's actually on the peak of my helmet. I've got my Array Tour X4, the peaked touring helmet, and I've mounted the camera actually to the peak, which does vibrate a lot, but because it has such good smoothing and stabilisation on the Hero 8, I'm hoping that the picture won't be affected by it. So I'll be really interested to see how the picture quality comes out on this trip. I hope it's good, because I won't be able to come back and do it again. Maybe a bit later in the tour I'll show you how I've got the camera rigged up on the helmet, because these new Hero 8s still have to use the mic adapter, which is a right faff if you're a vlogger and you like to speak while you're riding. It's a bit of a game to wire up the mic, and I'll show you how I've done that a little bit later in the tour. These road surfaces are surprisingly good, actually. I'm sure they do have their moments, but in the main they seem to be really well maintained and pretty much pothole free. I wonder if that's either because they're very well maintained or because the climate is more conducive to tarmac holding up, and of course they don't get as much traffic as the roads get in Blighty. Although having said that, Thailand is quite a populous country. Something like 69 million people live here. And I can't remember exactly where it sits in the pecking order, but it is one of the world's most populous countries. So that would imply there is plenty of traffic, but certainly there's not much on this road. I mentioned to the north is Myanmar, and to the south is Malaysia. If you cross the water to the east and north, then you're heading into Vietnam. And if you cross the Andaman Sea and Indian Ocean to the west, I think the next major landfall is India. So that's where I'm riding at the moment. I never believed in a million years that I'd get to ride somewhere like this, so this is absolutely fantastic. And just in case you're wondering how I got out here and how this all came about, it's because Paul actually is a viewer of the channel and a subscriber, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure how long he's been watching for, but obviously he's a GS man. I suspect maybe he found me because of the GS links. And about a year or so ago he wrote to me and said, you know, I love all your tours that you do. I love looking at Spain and so on. But why don't you come somewhere a little bit different and come and stay at my hotel in Thailand? Well, I didn't need asking twice. So it's taken us a year to put together, but here we are. So thank you so much, Paul, for getting in contact and being such a great host, putting us up in his amazing hotel, if that's the right word for it. Hello, some sort of procession here, look. It is actually a Sunday today, so I don't know if that's just normal Sunday stuff or what. I suspect we're about to find out.
I want to photograph this.
Yeah. So what is this? Is this a wedding or something?
Festival today and tomorrow.
Right.
Called Right for Tom, the start of the purifying with water for the new year.
Some serious speakers going on there. Apparently there's a religious festival going on for the next 2 days. Can't remember what it's called, but it's all to do with purifying water, apparently. Certainly looks amazing.
They're all happy, smiling people.
Hello? Of course. Okay. No problem. Oh, I missed it. Never mind. Next time. Oh well, see ya.
Didn't expect this, did you? Neither did I.
Fabulous. Nice to meet you. Cheers. That was great, wasn't it? How cool was that?
This is why we got Thailand, because the people are once you get into the villages and outside.
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
so nice.
yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
Gushka.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Oh. Right, we're off. Well, how cool was that? Now that ain't something that happens when you're doing a tour of Spain, is it? You get a load of people break out of their religious ceremony and come and shake hands and want pictures taken with you. How wild was that? That was absolutely brilliant. But one of the things that Paul says attracted him to come and live in Thailand is that the people are just so friendly. And well, if that was a typical experience, I can completely see the attraction. That was just superb. Well, I still can't quite believe I'm doing this. It's just not every day you get to ride through a bona fide jungle, is it? Certainly one for the amazing experience bucket. If you ever get the chance to do anything like this, do take it. I mean, it's so easy, isn't it, when to say no or think, oh, I can't be bothered to organise that or whatever. But actually, if you make the effort and you do come outside a bit of your comfort zone, do something a little bit different, you often reap so much in the way of rewards. That's what life's all about, isn't it? So not only have I got a new camera, by the way, the Hero 8 that I mentioned before, I've also got a new microphone that I'm using, so I hope you can hear me okay. The old mic that I had worked fine, but it was a very cheap eBay special, cost me about £9, and it was getting a bit frayed on the corners. A little bit of gravel here, just a little bit careful with these new tyres. Anyway, I didn't want to risk coming away on a 2-week tour and having my mic fail. So I've got a new, more expensive Sony microphone that my pal Lamb Chops recommended, actually, so hopefully it sounds alright. He always sounds okay, so hopefully this one is going to do for, or do me a good turn during this tour. Most of the crops around here, by the way, if you're wondering what all these trees are, there's a lot of palm oil production, which I know is sort of a bit controversial at the moment, isn't it? And also rubber plantations here. Those are a couple of the big exports of Thailand, along with tourism, of course. If indeed you can export tourism, probably not, if you know what I mean. So a lot of these plantations you see at the side of the road are actually here for agricultural purposes, as opposed to just being wild forests or jungle. Now this bike we're about to overtake here, it's got a sort of a sidecar arrangement on it, and you see this an awful lot on the side of, well, they're scooters effectively, aren't they? But they get these bits welded on, that means suddenly you've got a whole lot of utility. They turns the bike into a pickup truck. I saw one yesterday when we got into town initially, and there were 7 people on that bit on the side, plus a rider, and it couldn't have been more than a 125cc machine. So they weren't going particularly fast. Surprise, surprise. Okay, just coming to another busy little spot. KO Phanum. I must apologise to any Thai viewers for my outrageous pronunciations as we progress on this tour. As I said earlier, the Thai language is one that's particularly difficult for a Westerner to get their tongue round, and their eyes. Sort of made an assumption that pickup was going to stop at the lights there, but you never quite know. So this is a bit more like your proper Thailand, isn't it? A bit less touristy. Hello, stray dog there in the road. See a lot of dogs here. And in fact, one of the things that me and Carol had to do before we came over was have quite a few vaccinations. You don't have to do them, but as we were out of the way of the main tourist areas, we basically had all the vaccinations that doctors recommended. It cost us about £900, would you believe, in vaccinations. So something to factor in if you're going to come out to these countries and you're going to come off the beaten track. Of course, it's optional, you don't have to do it, but we were told if you get licked by a dog that's got rabies, you will die. So we thought we'd have the rabies jab, amongst others. Right, what's happening here then? Oh, coffee stop maybe? Don't know.